Hello, everyone on LinkedIn and our other channels. We are here with another exciting edition of Lab to Market. Today, we have some amazing guests joining Fouad and I to have a great conversation about the exciting world of AI and analytics and all that great stuff. So, joining us is Lubabah Bakht. She is a representative of Reckitt. So that's brands like Durex, KY, Mucinex, Lysol. So, household name that you may not be familiar with, but does a lot of stuff that affects everyone. Welcome to the show. Um, Also joining us is Avinash Kaushik, and he is arguably one of the fathers of maybe modern analytics. I hope I'm not overstating that. I see him shaking the head. He's like, no, I don't want that brand.
Yeah.
But he is well known in the industry. He's been an evangelist for Google for many years. He also had a amazing company, Market Motive, that has trained many of the people you see on LinkedIn Lives and doing the real work out there. Not just chatting like I do, but actually getting nose to the grindstone. He's also a publisher an author of two best-selling books, Web Analytics 2.0 and Web Analytics An Hour a Day. So to say that I feel a little bit like I'm talking to a celebrity is not an overstatement here. I've heard so much, and just thank you for joining us today.
No, thrilled to be here. Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Fun.
Thank you, Avinash.
Avinash, if I could add, I had told my mom that I was doing this call with you, and she was excited. So
instant swoon, eh?
Very kind of you. Very kind of you.
We've been dreaming for years to have you as a speaker. So this is
well, yeah. My training in education wasn't in marketing, but I feel like I got an indirect education from you, Avinash, because Fouad and Lubabah has always been very instrumental in my career, and I feel like the training they received from you and your mentorship was phenomenal, and I feel like I got a little bit of it. I know you guys have some great stories I've heard.
Yeah, no, it's been great to know both of them for a while, and Lubabah and I especially, I like over years, I think if I search my inbox, probably have lots of emails from Lubabah all the way back. So it's such a wonderful chance to do this all together. It's like one big family.
Thank you.
Excellent. So before we start, guys, like what was it like going through that program at Market Motive? Is this kind of like a throwback?
Well, my first assignment, very first week, I think I did the same mistake as many did, bounced straight as a KPI. And I think I was fortunately picked. And yeah, I would remember that day forever. But that really paved my path in terms of my career. That one interaction, that motivated me, gave me every energy that I needed to wherever I am today. So, Avinash, again, thank you. I think you are the mentor for every digital analyst alive. We couldn't have done it without your contribution.
You're very kind. No, thank you. I always am in awe of people who take the extra effort, whether it's just time, which of course all of us can do, or time and money to invest in continuous learning and education. We all say like the world is changing so much, and I always say in context of the discussion we're having today that one of the ways in which humans will stay relevant in context of this relentless march by machine learning is that we keep figuring out how to learn new skills over time. And actually, in reality, very few people do, because it takes a lot of time and effort, and we all have jobs and families and children sometimes, and parent responsibilities, or we like watching TV. And there's nothing wrong with watching TV, by the way. Please let me rush to add. Nothing wrong with watching TV. But in the middle of all that, to have people who will actually spend time and money investing in their growth, it's always been an inspiration for me to see all these students who actually go well above and beyond. And it's not surprising that cohort of people then does better in their career versus other cohorts. So I applaud you both for being that and doing that for all of your careers over the years, not just at Market Motive, Simply Learn.
Yeah, it's amazing how like a lot of the knowledge that we gained through you as well, like 10 years ago, is still very relevant today. And that's the mind-blowing part, right? Because we thought so much was going to change, but yet the foundation still remains the same. And
Yeah, Lubabah, one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Bob Mankoff, is the cartoon editor of the New Yorker, and they asked him, "How do you pick 20 cartoons every week from the 300 plus that are submitted?" So he has to whittle down to 20, right, from 300. And his answer, I love his answer. It was, "It's not the ink, it's the think." And I just freaking love that quote. And so when we started to build Market Motive, or I write a weekly newsletter, which of course you both subscribe to, is my goal is to teach people how to think differently, and not focus on the ink, right? This particular report, click on this button to get this metric, or things like that, which is helpful and interesting about how to use Adobe Analytics or some other tool. But what I find changes trajectories is if you can get people to think differently. And so I focus a lot on frameworks. I focus a lot on how do you think strategically, how do you imagine new possibilities. And I think that on the rare occasions when I'm successful doing that, because I'm not always successful accomplishing that goal, but when on the rare occasion I succeed, then that sticks for a while, because the think lasts. It's the ink that doesn't last as much. And so I've always had this clarity in mind. Like I sent a newsletter last night on organic social ripping it. And it's all the think. It would have been like, the newsletter would have been 1/10 the size if I just focused on the ink. It would have, but it's the think. And I think if people read that and absorb all 3,000 words, they will never ever like think like as they used to in the past. And then that's always my goal. And I think anytime you can get the think right, it is amazing. Ink is good, just doesn't last as long.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
And so, Justin, I didn't get a chance to answer your question about my experience at Market Motive, which I just want to share.
Please do.
Yeah, one of the things that's really struck with me was the framework, the digital marketing framework, and how that thinking portion of acquisition, behavior, and outcomes, right? And framing it that way. And then fast forward a year or two later, and boom, we see Google Analytics has been recategorized into that exact same way, and which was like mind blowing. And I was, like, wow, I was so excited to see that the Google Analytics team perhaps heard your yelling about it, about the data puke. And for me, that's something that I always carry with me, the acquisition behavior outcomes. And sometimes it changes from scenarios and cases, but that's the thinking portion, right? Like how are we bringing the right people? What are they doing? How are we measuring it? And how is it tied to our business objectives? And I'm excited to see as well with Google Analytics 4 going forward, like how much more time we can spend on the insights versus weaving through all the data puke and noise and trying to find those insights, right?
No, exactly. No, I think you're right. And the Google Analytics has an amazing team of engineers and product managers. I'm very excited about the next level of intelligence that they have infused into Google Analytics. And I've been very, very sort of a passionate advocate for people being able to explore data a lot more. And now there's like an entirely new section built out, just exploring and being able to ask questions. And because it's sort of a different mindset than here's like 87 canned reports, and find the one you want. So exploration is really great. Also the other thing that I've sort of been worried about for some time is with all the other changes to happening around data regulation and privacy and things like that. We're going to shift a little bit, cookies, etc. We need to build a analytics tools need to build a foundation where they're using more rigorous machine learning, they're using more rigorous statistical modeling, they're using all kinds of other advanced techniques that will become more necessary now going forward. And a whole bunch of this is infused into GA4. And over the next year, you'll see more and more things come on top of whatever they've already released in the version that's live right now. So more exciting things to come, but great to hear your story as well, Lubabah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
always great to hear these stories. So, we started digging into, Google Analytics 4. Do you feel that things like GA4 are empowering the average business owner, the average manager to be, I suppose, more curious about their data, to delve deeper, giving them more tools necessary to make those decisions without necessarily an entire team and investment behind it?
No, I think you can, with any analytics tool, this includes Google Analytics, you can begin to learn a few things about your reality, even if you don't have anybody. So the team at Google Analytics spends an extraordinary amount of time on user research and all different types of users and sizes and companies and things. And so if you just log in, even if you don't know a lot about analytics and you're a very busy business owner, you can get some sense of reality. You can say, approximately these many, like, I understand visits. I understand these many people came. I understand page views, right? Like, this much like page load. So I think in aggregate, you can get some good sense. If you were so clever that you actually had somebody configure your e-commerce things correctly, then as a business owner, you benefit tremendously from knowing, this is my revenue, right? These are the orders, this is my conversion rate. So you get a little bit of a sense for things, but very quickly sort of you'll end up saying, well, what do I do differently and what can I do better? And at that point, I think if you're not analytically oriented, there's only so much you can pull out of Google Analytics to action. So you can understand a few things, and our hope is that you understand enough things that you're curious to invest a tiny amount of money in somebody who can tell you what to do
Definitely.
to get better numbers. Now, this could, of course, be a consultant you could hire for a few hours, which again, right, it consultants, there's like a official GA Google authorized consultant network. You could hire somebody from there for a few hours, a few days, a few weeks. And I say this with no hesitation, that any one of them will make you way more money than you're going to pay them. So
Exactly.
Lubabah, of course, is not for hire, but let's say her rate is $100 an hour. I'm clearly paying her not enough. But let's say, and you hire her for 5 hours, it's $500. In 5 hours of work, Lubabah can actually find you interesting things to activate that will easily make you 5,000. Right? And I always say that's the start of the journey. Don't just say, I'm going to hire somebody for a year and I'm going to pay them an extraordinary amount of money, and then you're like fighting ROI. And he's like, no, start small and then kind of go from there. But so I do think that the tool has become simpler so that even lay people can understand a few things.
And start to see the value.
My hope is it is enough to then invest a tiny amount of money in analytics person, whether it's a consultant, whether it's an in-house person part-time, somebody in your finance department, whatever makes sense. And I think the tool does that better than it has ever done in the past.
So the tool is augmenting our ability to understand it better, and what could be the value that could be driven. I think we will have a more positive attitude, behavior towards that as business owners.
Yes. No, I agree with you.
I like hearing it called reality. because I feel like a lot of business owners are disconnected from it. They see
Oh
analytics as
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
an extra, when really it's a lens into what is actually happening. And I like that AI is kind of helping us, have the tools to start to understand reality better.
Yeah, no, I concur with you. And I think Fuad is right. I think, to the context of all other things that you guys discuss in this wonderful series. Um, um, like Google Analytics version 2, version 1, where here's a bunch of data, like figure it out. You look at 3 a little bit, then now you look at 4, and it has gotten to a point where it says, here's some interesting things. It doesn't just say, here's all the data. It actually does use machine learning. It does use statistical analysis to surface to your very top report more interesting things.
Right.
And that means that for a lay person, it's not panacea, but it makes them more curious faster about how they could make more money or delight more customers. And I think that's a great sort of accomplishment and a trend that should continue over time, for tools that Google makes, but also tools that our colleagues at Facebook make, tools our colleagues at Adobe make, or all the other companies in the world. If you're a company that is primarily in the business of data puking, I'm afraid you have a short lifespan. The demand, like, we're so far beyond just saying we're a tool, happy birthday. Now, like, you have to come to the table with saying we're a tool, and we can actually come to you with version 1 of interesting things to look at, not just all the data in the reports. Like, there's some intelligence behind the scenes that is surfacing interesting things. That's like a minimum. That's the minimum viable product now.
Now, Avinash, Google Analytics 4 also made many other things possible that small businesses couldn't do before with universal analytics, such as taking data into a smart warehouse and
Mhm.
and do all kinds of magic stuff with auto ML, machine learning, and then deliver experiences in near real time or in real time. Uh, Personalization, that is. Uh, that required huge investment before. Now, with cloud being accessible and Google Analytics enabling those kind of features with clicks, um, also, I believe, brings capabilities that a lot of businesses probably could leverage now, should they understand what they can do.
Certainly. No, I concur with you. I think it was a very big priority for myself, for many people, to ensure that we have BigQuery integration. That's just one. But there's so many more things as well. It is also a recognition, thought that I think you're making, that increasingly, for medium and larger companies, not just smaller, but your digital existence is just one part of the story. There are other parts of your story. So when we think about business analytics, it is not just digital analytics. And so then we have to figure out how to create scenarios where rest of the business data can get into your digital tools, which of course you can do with Google Analytics and other tools, but also take all this out so you can actually do other more interesting things. And your example, Ford, is a very good one. Like a couple of years ago, I worked on a project for a travel company where we took all the data out of tools like Google Analytics. We dumped it into Cloud ML. Then we took our core outcomes database for all the people who had ever done business with us, dumped that into Cloud ML, and then in real time actually used machine learning to do real-time prediction for bids based on predicted lifetime value for a customer, rather than an average one, but like a real one. So realizing that the platform would recognize your behavior fraud and say your lifetime value is $80, and then at the same time Lubabah would run the same query, and it would understand her behavior and patterns, tie it back to our company patterns, and recognize Lubabah's actually lifetime value is 480. Well, we're going to bid a lot more for her, and by fraud, right? To be able to do that is extraordinary, because in the past you both would have done roughly the same query and we might have treated you both the same, but actually Lubabah's is actually worth a lot more over the long period of time. It's just one scenario. Or to be able to use that same setup to customize homepages, right? Go to Expedia.com or Booking.com and you see the entire world. Why? If Justin has been to Booking.com's homepage for, let's say, 2 or 3 times already, he should only see Tahiti. That's all he wants, nothing else. So why is the rest of the stuff there? And again, this is something that we could make possible as long as you can pull all this behavior data out. And it was difficult in the past. Also, getting the answer back was harder because we didn't have anything like CloudML easily accessible. So many new possibilities that I'm really, really excited about.
So I believe analysts are staying in jobs still. We still have things to do.
That is the worry everyone has right off the hop, right? The
Well,
AI is coming for me.
Like
no, the AI is definitely coming for us.
AI is definitely going to allow us to do more, but I think we have also more things to do. And suddenly,
That's
I
right.
think find more time, we can do more things for our clients, more amazing things. That's
No, I agree with you. So first, generally, like ignoring AI. I think that analysts are in a very good position generally. I think that if you have the aptitude for it, and not everybody does, but if you have the aptitude for analytics, it is a fairly recession-proof career. Good analysts are very, very hard to find. AI or no AI, okay, we'll come to that in a second. They're very, very hard to find. And so if you choose to invest in a career as an analyst, business analyst, financial analyst, digital analyst, pick any particular slice, you will actually do really well, because they're hard to find. Now, if you throw AI into the mix, then it's even more sexy, because for the next decade or so, machine learning and AI will augment decision making. It will not take over all of it, at least for the next. Well, I'm saying a decade. Somebody just very smart told me maybe 5 years. So we'll see. Well, I'm saying a decade. And in that context, Fuad, you're even more correct that all machine learning does is augments us in a way that we can be even smarter, and faster and more automated, and et cetera, et cetera. But augment is the word I use for the next decades. And if you do that, then you're truly recession proof. God, you like. Hopefully, we are creating thousands of analysts right now as we speak in this call.
I know you're inspiring a whole generation right here, right now. I like the entire term of augmenting them, because it's like having not just a toolbox, but an entire team behind you with this AI that's doing the difficult stuff, the things that takes lots of people, lots of time. It's doing it quicker, it's doing it faster, it's more accessible than ever. So I mean, these are our augmented specialists of the future, if you will.
Yeah, no, I agree. I use this framework. Lubabah knows I love frameworks, and so I use this framework, and it's a good way to think about machine learning and AI. Is we always have 3 kinds of questions to answer. The known knowns, the known unknowns, and the unknown unknowns. So things you already know. So like we know that this is a photo of a cat, and we can teach a machine learning algorithm, like we show enough pictures of a cat, it'll learn to recognize cat. But there's still like known knowns. Then you have your known unknowns, like some things you don't know, but you don't know. And so, for example, like, you breast cancer research is really good example. So if we get all this data around the scans for breast cancer or for other kinds of medical diagnosis, we know what we know what answer we're looking for, but it's actually just a hard answer to find. And so doctors are good, something like 83% of the rate at interpretation of the data, and the algorithms are like 93 or something, right? So like 8-10 points better than doctors. Not perfect, right? But they know what they're looking for. So like the known unknowns. We know what we're looking for, and I will find it. And both of these have been really great progressions for machine learning. It's phenomenal, right? Even the known knowns, they can do it at a scale that is unfathomable. Like it is incredible, right? Or in the known unknowns, they can do it at a speed and accuracy that is just amazing. It's truly saving lives type stuff, right? Then the third is where sort of a lot of interesting things reside, which is things you don't know, you don't even know. The unknown unknowns, and I think that that's where machine learning has its biggest promise. I'll give you the most cliched answer of it all, right? Which is, what the hell to do with climate change? And we've all tried our things. We've tried all the known knowns, known unknowns. You got no answers. But it is my belief that you just don't have enough AGI, right? Enough AIs, silo AIs, that at some point we don't even know what question to ask. Right? Like, it's beyond our imagination. But these algorithms will get to a point where they are such generally intelligence that they will look at something in a way we can't imagine. They will think about it in a way that we can't imagine, and then find us a solution that is beyond our imagination, right?
I
And
like that, because it is an imagination problem, isn't it? Because an AI won't look at the problem and be like, "That's a waste of time. We've already thought of that. I don't want to go down that avenue."
yeah,
It's going to look at everything, and
yeah.
that's where you're going to find
Or
something that you
the
never thought of.
or the scale at which it can, this is sort of analytically speaking, so I apologize for the technical things, but the dimensions and variables it can analyze far outsmart us, right? They surpass our capabilities, even though currently the human brain is the most computationally intensive thing in the universe, like in the known universe or on planet Earth. Who the hell knows the universe? But on planet Earth, we currently possess the most computationally intensive, complex thing that exists. That's the human brain. But even we, due to other limitations, can't absorb as many dimensions and variables at a scale that even a machine learning algorithm can. And so I'm excited about that. I know some people are filled with dread, but I'm sort of excited. Why does there have to be disease on Earth? Why do humans need to die, right? Why do why have all these horrendous climate challenges exist? And I'm sort of kind of optimistic that the progress we're making with these machine learning algorithms, maybe one day AI, will help us solve these problems. The truly unknown unknowns.
Yeah.
We have already seen there's a skin detect tool by Google
Mhm.
that I believe diagnoses 200 plus different types of
Yes.
diseases. We have also seen this early detection of blindness caused by diabetics,
Mhm.
saving that could save millions. Um, so the future is exciting with AI. Now, a little bit more interesting question, more towards AGI, as you already mentioned, Avinash. We have seen you posting questions like, "What is the meaning of life?" And it had a very creative answer, more creative than many of us could come up with in microseconds. Um, and we are using also large generative language models for BlueCap,
Yes.
one product that does many things at scale that we couldn't do, far more capable than human in terms of summarizing meetings, taking insights, risks, opportunities, sentiment. Even if it was 100 people here, it could understand all of those in real time. The question is now, I mean, at least to what it seems to me, that we're closer, much closer than we thought we would be right now, 2 years back, towards AGI. Um, and looking at Google's blogs about PaLM, about their image models that's coming out soon to the public, it looks like creative computing and the understanding sense, we're almost there. And if that is so, uh, would there be any displacement of work? Perhaps not analysts. We're going to be recession proof. But what about certain domains like radiologists? Should we send our kids to school for understanding and reading MRIs?
So I'm very excited about large language models. I am astonished at the progress and the answers they can come up with. I say, we've gone through this transformation of writing code and things where humans would teach. It shifted to algorithms would learn from our consistent classified or labeled data to truly understand by themselves without us giving them any input. So that's the big shift from teach to learn to understand. And large language models, what they are showing already in terms of results, their ability to understand cause and effect, their ability to understand just these layers of nuances, their ability to understand emojis, not just text, right? And can you think like for a computer model to understand an emoji is actually a very complicated task. I don't even understand emojis. My daughter exclusively replies in emojis, and I have to say, sweetheart, what does this mean? Daddy's dumb, right? Text, right? But, and then this model understands or counterfactuals and so I am amazed at what large language models can understand. I still think that there is enough that they don't understand that we have progress to make. As they say, Fuad, getting from 0 to 80 takes 80 days, and then from 80 to 100 takes 80 years. So I think there is an amount of progress to be made. Obviously, there are many different opinions out there. One thing I will say, DeepMind, by the way, based in London, has a really great series of podcasts. Just search for the DeepMind podcast, and they have some really. The season 2 focused on large language models, and it was sort of really interesting. And in the last episode, Demis Hassabis, who is their CEO, makes sort of all kinds of predictions for it about AGI and when and things like that. And his assessments are the ones I would listen to, not sort of anything I have to say. But generally, I find that when you look across futurists and these amazing people like Demis, there is no disagreement that the end goal is going to be AGI. The only disagreement is the time at which it will happen. Is it happening in 5 years or happening in 50 years? The argument is no longer, are we going to get there? It's just when we're going to get there. So I think then it is futile to argue about, is it going to happen or not? I mean, it's going to happen. We just don't know why, right? So some are optimistic, some are pessimistic. But I in the near term, I think that the augmentation will mean that we will be more effective and efficient. And in that sense, I'm not sure that there will be displacement necessarily that you spoke about, Fuad. And so let's say our company has 40 analysts. The 40 analysts can do smarter work at a higher level of productivity because we have access to these algorithms. So that's the near-term thing, and that's what you should think about. So, for example, Walmart, I read the other day, is going to have a bunch of trucks be self-driven. Not exactly destination to destination, but the entire sort of 90% of the stretch that's on highway, right? It's all going to be auto-driven. There's a driver sleeping in the back, by the way. He's enjoying his ride for a day and a half. Now that increases productivity, it increases on-time delivery, it improves customer satisfaction because all the products are in the right store at the right time. So that's the near-term impact I see, like increased productivity and things like that. Then at some point, perhaps there is enough intelligence that that some jobs you may need to refocus your skill sets in the future. So, for example, do we need radiologists who currently analyze all the data and detect if somebody's having a stroke? A crucial job. And algorithms are can analyze all the data better, faster, and someday maybe they approach an accuracy where you don't need the algorithm to give input, the radiologist to do final interpretation and make a conclusion, right, about surgery or not. But that the radiologist step is not necessary. It just goes analysis to taking action, right? Then there might be some displacement, but in general, if you look far across revolutions in human history so far, let's say the last 300 years, um, every revolution creates some displacement, but every single time we've had more humans have more employment,
Right.
and increasingly employment with every revolution doing things. There are more people who are able to do things they love. So to think about this, like Lubabah is like a TikTok star. Like, what the hell is a TikTok star? Like 50 years ago, who thought there's a thing like a TikTok
Yeah,
star who
that
makes
wasn't a
money,
thing at all.
like tons of money, tons. Like these people are doing very well. And what do? They just dance. Is that all they do? Dance all day, and take all the sponsorships. But like, there's a job that never even existed that now somebody's very happy doing, like happy and making money, right, and supporting themselves and their families. And not everybody on TikTok, right, but there's a new class of people doing a new class of jobs, that makes them happy. And so I think the displacement will go together with that, because in human history it has always happened that way.
Yeah, and increased
So,
prosperity usually increases the job market. So I mean,
yes,
you have more companies doing the same thing. So
yeah.
there's
So
more
the way I
space
think
for
about
everyone.
it is there is we will be, some of us might be doing different jobs, and what I'm optimistic about is that we will be doing jobs, that make us happier, that make us more fulfilled and satisfied,
That's amazing.
because we don't need to do the same boring shit all the time.
Exactly.
Sorry, did I say that? Okay. but that's my that. But then, for what, you can stretch it out to the really long term, right? What if there is true AGI and we're in that future, whether you think that is 20 years from now or 80, doesn't matter, right? And then what if we don't have to work at all? Why do we have to work? Why can't Justin just spend his whole time in Tahiti snorkeling with octopus? By the way, Justin, highly recommended.
That that
I've
sounds
done it twice.
wonderful.
It's fantastic. Initially, you're really scared of the octopus, but turns out that it's more scared of you. Then so he was more scared of me but initially I was super scared of it. Um, why not? And so that I'm not a futurist. I can't see that far. But that's something to think about. So you could take it both ways, but I broadly remain optimistic that in the near term these algorithms and intelligence is augmenting humans. Um, then in the medium term, we will shift to a place where it will be able to do these jobs more smarter, more effectively, to allow us to do jobs that we might enjoy more, or the same job we enjoy doing dimensions that we like more. Then in the long term, long term, it's an unknown. But I'm kind of optimistic that humans will be able to spend their lives in more fulfilling ways, because maybe one of many scenarios that might be possible is that we don't actually need to work to earn money to live. And if you think about that, it opens up a lot of exciting possibilities. With that's maybe that's for my daughter and my son, maybe not for me. I'll be dead by then. But isn't it fun to think about, like, our children will have such different possibilities than going to work from 9 to 5, right?
Yeah, and
And
I think there will always be work. It's just once we uncouple it from, monetary gain and this needs to have an ROI, and then the work will get done. I mean, we'll have improved communities. I mean, there's now time and motivation to improve your local community, to improve, everything around you. Whereas, right now you're kind of looking at, well, is fixing this park up or something really something I can afford to do right now?
Yeah. Some kid asked me, I had to do a little talk to a bunch of kids. I said, so you're saying I may not have to go to school? You could just plug in the thing into my brain? And I said, go to school, study hard for now.
Let's not bank on the brain plug.
But yes, who knows?
You can have an opposite effect. I think it's interesting how you mentioned, Avinash, that the current MVP is intelligence, right? And
Yeah.
that's what it is. And like Justin, what you had mentioned of work and monetary, like we all work for our money, right? But there are other challenges that we face, right? Where that intelligence portion can be the solution provider. And just for your question as well, I think like wellness or well-being, Avish, as you alluded to it, will be highly impacted. Like that truck driver who doesn't have to drive the truck from point A to point B, and it's just like kind of doing like laissez-faire style monitoring. They're going to be a lot more rejuvenated to be their family after they've been on the road for so long, instead of being dead tired when they finally get home, right? So there's going to be a lot of, I think, already we're seeing well-being positive impact from AI versus when we thought AI was here to overtake us, right? It's more here to complement and be an augmented assistant, more or less.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I think our sci-fi books don't do us good service. I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I was like, why are humans looks just like our bodies right now, 3,000 years from now? That makes no freaking sense, right? And in an age of abundance versus scarcity, why are we still fighting each other? Or anyway, I don't read too much sci-fi and extend from it. Even I say this as a massive sci-fi fan, and I ride my bike to work every day, and my it's 25 kilometers one way, and I listened. I'm on Wi-Fi. I'm listening to the Broken Earth series right now. But one thing that strikes me, Lubabah, is what you said, which is we're the current sci-fi just doesn't imagine enough from
Right.
a place of abundance. It's still scarcity. It's still us like being the Incas conquering each other. It just happens to be
Yep.
instead of 500 years ago, we're like 600 years into the future, being still the
Well,
Incas, which Incas
they
were
they
great,
see
by the way, and the Aztecs were
they
great, but come on.
they kind of see it as now we have more time to conquer each other rather than be philosophical.
Yes.
It's a better story to sell. Doomsday is a better story to sell. Nobody wants to hear about happiness. Everyone getting along. That's not going to sell.
Yes.
Awesome. So we've covered a lot today. I know we were kind of running up on our time here. Is there any final words you'd like to have here, Fuad, Lubabah?
My final word would be, what you guys did at Blue Cap AI is phenomenal. Like that is very
Ooh.
very intelligent platform with great insights, and it's a great example of what we have been talking about, right? Of getting insights right away, immediately, versus having to gather it, clean it up, and make it into a pretty picture, whatnot. So I think what you guys are doing is already. And anybody who has not tried out Blue Cap, I would highly recommend to try it out, because the insights will give you a taste of all the various possibilities that AI brings.
Absolutely. And I love the positive take on AI we've had here, because I mean, our ethos in building that is all, reducing the things you don't want to do and increasing your ability to do the things you want to do, like have better relationships with people and be more organized, to understand each other better.
I created more arts in the last 30 days than my entire life, because I now can just say what kind of art I want to create, and the machine creates it for me.
Yeah.
So I think absolutely the world, the future is amazing, and time to AGI, I still think we're closer than ever before. Um, I get lot of benefits from AI. I just ask whatever questions I have in my mind, and I always seem to be impressed what it comes back with, at least better than what I would have come up with myself. So I think the common sense part from these large language models, that's going to be huge. And if, as humans, we could all have more responsible, better, augmented common sense, we could probably accelerate our time to future much faster. And it's an unknown how fast that would happen. For example, AI into every domain, as we see, is becoming more and more used and useful. Supply chain, driving, and combined with common sense, vision. Um, I think we're entering in a world uh, we haven't seen yet, and this next 5 years is going to be uh, tremendously exciting. And AGI is probably very close. Now, not in terms of AGI taking over humans, but AGI augmented that we almost don't have to do anything to do for earning money. It could be using our intelligence, teaching machines throughout the day without going out of our way, but correcting machines perhaps to do better things with natural decisions. That could be another next 5 years. Probably we may reach, and then ultimately, who knows what the time frame is, but I think we're really, really close to a point where machines should be able to take far more better decisions with our teaching, of course, in near real time. And the world would be a different place. Think about supply chain. Imagine, there is you reach every time you take the best decision possible given your resources. Um, Imagine every time you're starting your commute based on the perfect timing, so you don't have to be in traffic, or everything that happens or everything that you experience, you are actually going through the best possible thing because machines are computing those probabilities for you, possibilities. And so I think our experience, our way of life, quality of life, that's going to change fast in the next 5 years. We can already see that in the airport, in hotels, in customer service, and yeah, I'm very, very positive about the changes, but at the same time, very scared as well for folks who are not going to adopt, and embrace the changes.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Maybe I'll end with this. I'll sort of build in something Fuad said, um, and leave this sort of message. I love this framing. What will machines be good at, and what will be humans good at, as you think about your current job or you think about the next couple of decades. So machines will be good at frequent high volume tasks, and humans will be good at tackling novel situations. Just let that sink in, right? Frequent high volume tasks versus tackle novel situations. Now, the frequent high volume tasks could be I'm an analyst publishing reports, I'm a radiologist reading x-rays, I'm a person driving a car 6,000 miles, whatever. Just think of any frequent high volume tasks. Machines are going to get better and better and better and better and better at it. They already are better than us at many things, but they will keep getting better. What we should think about is we're good at tackling novel situations. And so I'll read this, right? The thing I wrote in my blog post is humans will continue to be good at creative jobs, empathy-centric jobs, ethics-centric jobs, and jobs where discerning the line between good data and bad data is critical. just keep that in mind as you
Right.
think about your career. And if you keep that in mind, you say, even now, I'm going to follow Fuad's advice. I'm going to follow Fuad's sort of this clarion call that he made about the change that's coming. And I'm going to figure out how to slowly morph my ability to be better and better at tackling novel situations. If you just solve for that, you're going to be fine. Our future generations will be fine. But it's important to make this shift. I think what Fuad is expressing is a concern around people who might just say, I want to stay with the frequent high volume tasks. Then you bump up in a scenario where it's like, oops, at some point there's no choice. There's something doing this better than you, and so on and so forth. But if we all say, we're going to listen to this and figure out how to morph our personal skill sets to be able to tackle novel situations, not only can we benefit from the augmentation that is upon us already, not yet coming, not coming, already upon us, but also all things that are coming up in the future, we'll be sort of prepared for them. So that's how I'm thinking about sort of my career for the last 5-6 years. When I made that slide, I was like, I'm going to change my job completely. I just gave up my frequent task. Started to shift here already 5-6 years ago. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I encourage my kids to do that. I encourage, I just spoke to a whole bunch of students, university students in Romania. I encourage them to do that. I encourage everybody else to think that. Does that make sense? That sort of
Absolutely. 100%
framing?
great. Yep.
I love that message because it's more, that is what we were born to do, to tackle those novel tasks. And I mean, it's in everyone. It's no special skill set. I mean, we're all creative thinking human beings that can do that. So I love that message. It's definitely far from the jobless apocalypse that, some people try to sell. So I just love the positive energy in this. It's been great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lubabah. Thank you, Avinash, for joining us. This has been, I would say, one of our richest conversations. So thank you again.
Thank you, Avinash.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone who tuned in.
Thank you, Lubabah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.